Two senators, Republican Jeff Flake of Arizona in his last few days as a senator, and Democrat Chris Coons of Delaware. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, Senator Flake, why was today not any different than before? And will tomorrow be any different than today when it comes to this Mueller bill?
You know, this bill passed the Judiciary Committee back in April, so we've been waiting 9 months. It passed on a bipartisan basis, 2-1, even including our chairman. And it has languished on the House floor, or waiting for action on the Senate floor since that time. And since that time, notably, in November, the president fired the Attorney General. So to say, you know, this is a solution in search of a problem, I think the problem is the Mueller probe is in danger, and we need to protect it.
Senator Coons, obviously Mitch McConnell's rationale has been it's unconstitutional. He's not convinced. Forget whether the president will veto it or not. He probably would unless you put it on the spending bill. But he argues it's unconstitutional anyway. So why bother?
I am certain that it's not unconstitutional. And frankly, the fact that the Republican chairman of the Judiciary Committee, that a bipartisan majority of 14-7 on the Judiciary Committee voted it out and says it's ready for action on the floor, strongly suggests that we think it is more important to protect the rule of law, to provide a judicial review in the case of the inappropriate, without cause, abrupt firing of the special counsel, than to litigate the fine points of its constitutionality on the floor of the Senate.
Senator Flake, why do you think your colleagues are willing to push back at the president on Saudi Arabia, how they've handled Khashoggi, on Syria today, and I want to get your guys' reactions to that actually in a second, but not on this? Why the fear on this, but no fear at pushing back on him on trade, no fear on Saudi Arabia? Why so much fear on pushing back on this?
Well, this is so central to what the president talks about every day. And he has been on this for months and months and months, how this is a witch hunt. And I think my colleagues realize they'll be on the wrong end of a tweet or an outrage by the president. So, but I think it's far more important to protect the integrity of this investigation. It is not a witch hunt. It has led to 12 indictments of Russian nationals, as well as indictments of Americans. So this is a serious investigation that has to reach its conclusion. I just don't understand how my colleagues can be so sanguine about this. I really don't.
Senator Coons, are you comforted by the fact that it looks like Mueller himself has protected himself? I mean, when you look at pieces of the investigation that he's farmed out to the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney in D.C., the Eastern District of Virginia, he seems to have both been very careful about sticking to his mandate, staying very narrow on Russia, and every other criminal enterprise he finds, he makes sure a fixed U.S. attorney has it. Does that make you feel better?
That's right. That's right, Chuck. I am reassured by the ways in which Robert Mueller is diligently, carefully, and with great persistence pursuing his mandate and then sending to other jurisdictions criminal matters that deserve prompt follow-up, but that they can handle. But that doesn't mean that the Mueller investigation is not at risk. As the tempo has picked up, as the number of indictments and sentencing hearings and charges has picked up, I think it is at its greatest moment of risk. When we leave, when Congress goes out of session, which I think may happen as soon as tonight or tomorrow, I am very concerned that President Trump will act on what he repeatedly tweets or says almost every day. He has asserted over and over again that this is a baseless witch hunt that should be shut down. Why most of my Republican colleagues won't take him at his word and act to stop this slow-rolling constitutional crisis coming at us is beyond me. I am so grateful to Senator Flake for standing up, for blocking 23 Republican judges in the Judiciary Committee, and for again joining me and Senator Booker on the floor today, forcing the majority leader to come out and object to our request for a live UC vote.
Let me pivot the conversation to Syria. Senator Flake, what concerns you more, the decision itself or how the president went about doing it and the lack of informing, it looks like, state, Pentagon, and Congress at this point? Everybody seemed to cancel their briefings today for fear of not being able to answer any questions about it.
You know, anytime the Pentagon is caught flat-footed when the president says that he has agreed to withdraw troops from a country, you know you're in trouble. And so the process more than anything. But there are serious concerns about the policy implications as well. But my golly, the process here to not consult among agencies, particularly with the Department of State and the Department of Defense, is just jaw-dropping. It really is.
President Trump is the first president in our nation's history with no previous experience, either in the military or in elected service. And I would have hoped that he'd show some humility and consult and rely upon the professional advice of the leaders of our military and also seek input from the State Department. But frankly, this abrupt and ill-considered decision is going to have terrible consequences on the ground in Syria. It's going to hand the keys to a whole region of Syria to Iran's forces, to Bashar al-Assad's murderous regime, and reinforce Putin's bad behavior, not just in Syria, but globally.
There's one other group I'm concerned about that I wanted to, Senator Flake, I wanted to bring up, and that's the Kurds, who, of course, have basically been perhaps the best ally the U.S. military has had. We know the Turks are thinking, there's been a lot of speculation that Erdogan in Turkey is about to, that he views the Kurds in northern Syria as more of a threat to him than to ISIS. If the U.S. military isn't in there, are they going to get slaughtered?
That concern was raised today, certainly with the vice president here on Capitol Hill. And that is a big concern that many of us have. So, yes, the policy implications of this move are legion. And certainly the way that the president has gone about this just leaves us all scratching our head.
Senator Coons, I can't tell you, I've gotten a lot of reaction that asks the question of, you can't help but wonder, considering who the major players are in this issue, that the president's ties to Russia, the president's ties to Saudi Arabia suddenly are popping up here.
I'm gravely concerned by this abrupt decision. I do think it will lead to a lot of loss of life on the ground, and I think it raises the question, the Kurds who have fought so bravely and so hard alongside American troops to take on ISIS and to drive ISIS out of a whole region of Syria, a fight that is not yet over and not yet won, for us to abandon them and to cede this ground, potentially to Turkey, I think more likely to Iran, is a grave mistake. And it does raise concerns about on what basis the president has made this decision, not just the process, but the substance, not just the process and substance, but the consequences of this decision, I think are gravely concerning to all of us who heard about it today.
Let me just say, this points up the need again, that's something that Chris and I have worked on, and Tim Kaine and others, is to pass an AUMF for authorization for use of military force that will allow, at least at this point, the president, if ISIS pops back up again, clear authority to get back in. So that desperately, it should have been done by now, but it desperately needs to be done as soon as January.
Well, the equal branch of government, we'll see if the president will abide by it when it comes to these issues of war and peace. Anyway, Senators Flake and Coons, thank you both for coming on together and sharing your views. I appreciate that. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.